Right, great. Let's get started. Before we jump in, I want to make sure that everyone can easily follow along with the training. So I'll remind you that you can turn on closed captions by selecting the closed caption icon located in the Zoom toolbar on the desktop. On mobile, if you don't see a closed captioning button, you'll need to select the back arrow in the top left of your screen and then the settings cog icon, and then meetings, and then enable the show closed captionings button. And if you're having any problems doing that, you can message us privately. All right, so everyone is filtering in and introducing themselves in the chat. This is great. All right, I'll introduce myself. My name is Lauren Gigax. My pronouns are she, her, and I am Maryland's program associate and Anne Arundel County organizer. I'm here tonight with Dustin, our Baltimore organizer, Beth, our Montgomery and Prince George's County organizer, and Mustafa, our director of campaigns and strategies. All right, here is our agenda for tonight. First, Mustafa will give us an update on our legislative priorities. There will be time for questions at the end of this section, and you can just ask questions at the end or put them in the chat, and we'll answer them along the way. We're going to talk to you about what you can do to help us win in the next 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of the legislative session, including on this call. We're going to take 10 minutes to email our legislators. Um, we're going to provide some talking points for that. And then we're going to debrief some amazing successes that we have helped propel on data centers, and finally, we're going to talk about some opportunities to get plugged into our local existing or burgeoning action teams this spring and summer. So I'll pass it over to Mustafa for the legislative update.
Okay. Um, Good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. It has been an oh, can folks hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. It has been just an incredibly messy session, this legislative session. And the bottom line is that Maryland is really in need of more climate champions. We've had significantly rising utility costs in across the country, but particularly in Maryland, Maryland and DC being amongst the highest in the country because of mismanagement from the grid operators, otherwise known as PJM, um, the the explosion in data centers, initially in Northern Virginia and now across Maryland, and the greedy utilities who just want to make as much money as possible, and to that causes our energy costs to skyrocket. And um, and we're in a position where we cannot we're at a moment in time where we really cannot afford to be for our elected officials to be vulnerable on these issues, and yet we need for both to be developing more climate champions and for helping to make sure that our existing climate champions in the Maryland General Assembly hold firm. Um, we have 2 weeks left until the end of the legislative process, and we're largely focused on leadership's omnibus energy bill, the Utility Relief Act. So that's House Bill 1532 and Senate Bill 841. And this is the primary energy legislation that's going to be moving forward. The uh, the bill has had some good provisions in it. It's stopping utilities from paying their executives more by raising costs for the ratepayers. It's stopping utilities. It requires counties to use digital permitting systems to expedite residential solar. Um, This is the good the things that are good that are in both of the bills, and uh, through through our also through our pressure over the last couple of months with the affordable solar legislation, one big provision that we've been able to get added to this omnibus legislation is balcony solar. And so there will be hopefully, if this gets passed, we will be able to legally sell portable solar in Maryland, so people can plug it in into their balconies to use them, which is great. So um, through and I'm sorry, actually, Dustin or Lauren, can you just make sure that we're recording? We hit the
We are
record
recording.
button. Okay, great. Thank you. I realized I did not double check that, so thank you. So the and a few other good things that are have been a result of our advocacy that have been added to this bill. One is last week, you all may be aware that we were very concerned about Senate Bill 26 being added as an amendment to this legislation, and that would have exempted all new power plants from environmental regulations if they are built on the same location as the data center they were powering. Um, and so, because we were able to literally, we got, I think, over 500 people very quickly to be contacting their legislative offices. This is now no longer being floated as an amendment in the Senate. The other victory big sets of victories that we've had here recently is uh, this is now going to be uh, uh, this is now the going they're now going to be lowering on data centers, lowering the threshold for a large load customer in Maryland and the Maryland regulations from 100 megawatts to 25 megawatts of consumption. And so that means that for permitting processes, that the smaller data center projects will also um, have to abide by the same rules and oversight from both local as well as state regulators. And then in addition, that there's because of an amendment from Senator Hester, there's a new data center registration process that's going to be implemented at the Maryland Public Service Commission, which requires the data centers to go before state regulators as opposed to just getting approval from, the local zoning boards and commissions. And then the last thing on data centers that's been really good that we've been able to add is um, a tiered benefit system for data centers that builds, for data centers that build energy storage, or they buy clean energy, or they participate in programs to lower their energy demand. Um, they would be eligible to be, depending on whether they're like getting sorting 60% or like 80% of their energy from clean energy or from battery storage, they would be in a top tier, like in a platinum tier. And a data center that's in a platinum tier versus a gold tier or like a silver tier would have a certain timeline by which the state and local regulators would have to approve their permitting application. Um, so the amendment says that if they're basically in the top tier, that they would be eligible to have that they would be required to have their application processed by MDE within 12 months. The intention here is to just set use a carrot to say if a data center is going to come here that they should be using clean energy to power their data center. So these are the good things that we've been able to add to the legislation. The provisions that were watching very closely is right now, Maryland utilities, in accordance with the Empower program, are required to reduce their energy demand by 2.5% annually, starting in 2027. And so the legislation revises that goal from the for the period of 2027 through 2029 to 1.75%. So it's still shrinking the program, albeit it's shrinking it notably less. I believe it was at 1.4% and now it's at 1.75%. So, and then it's also now there was an amendment approved today count that would allow for counting greenhouse gas emissions from EVs that are purchased in Maryland to be counted towards the Empower program. And so essentially what this does is that it would offset or eliminate the program entirely as a consequence because the program it would be achieving its goals, and so the investment would be pulled from it. Um, dollars for weatherization or for electrification wouldn't be going to that. And so uh, the additional piece here is that for our solar uh, for solar um, that utility companies could be counting solar energy as and like their utility scale solar their solar projects as part of the greenhouse gas reduction meeting the greenhouse gas reduction goals as part of Empower. And so um, that is not where the money is supposed to be going to. The money from Empower is supposed to be going to help people who are low income Marylanders to be investing in weatherizing and electrifying their homes. So we just want to keep as much of the Empower program as we can. So that is, I think, the summary, the broad strokes of where we are with the omnibus. Uh, I should also say I'm so sorry. The last thing I want to lift up here is one of the biggest factors in the increased energy cost is due to the Exelon-owned utilities, right? So we're talking about BG&E, Pepco, Delmarva Power, intentionally, steadily, and unnecessarily increasing the distribution rates over time. And the distribution charges on your bill that pay for the physical system that brings energy to your home, including items like power poles, wires, and underground gas pipes. So companies spend on building or replacing this infrastructure, and ratepayers pay for these projects. So the company's profit and the taxes the company owes on that profit through the distribution section of your monthly bill. And one of the tools that they have used to do that is called forecasted and alternative rate making practices. So forecasted rate making is when utilities they make a projection of what they think future energy costs will be and use that to set rates. So instead of using historical data to determine what the cost would be, they are projecting based on what they expect the future cost to be, not using the historical data to determine that. So in some states like Connecticut and Virginia, the alternative form of rate making has worked well or could potentially work well. And in Maryland, we are operating under a pilot program for this type of rate making. So since this type of rate making started in Maryland in 2020, Exelon-owned utilities have forecasted notably higher rates than are necessary because they are, of course, influenced by making a profit. And this is not coming from our mouth. This is coming from even most recently a report from OPC that was demonstrating that people who were homeowners of a 900 megawatt home are in 2020 where they were spending on average like $55 on their bill, and now they're spending, I think it's about 160 or close to 160. So these energy prices have just skyrocketed. So we want to make sure that we prohibit that forecast rate making. that's the primary thing that we want to make sure that we're doing when it comes to these energy costs. Um, and I think I'll leave it at at that for now on the omnibus legislation. So lots of moving pieces with it. The important things to remember is that we want to be protecting the Empower program, that we want to make sure that the energy costs and the ability to weatherize and to make your homes more energy efficient is accessible to as many Marylanders as possible, given particularly that it's such a significant rate of return on investment of dollars in particular on that program, and that we want to make sure that we are um, lowering the energy costs by prohibiting forecasted rate making and making sure that utilities provide historical data in demonstrating the need for doing any, for rate making cases going forward. Okay, I want to just go on to the next slide here and just give a couple of quick updates. Um, The Affordable Solar Act, that legislation did not advance out of committee. The legislation itself is dead, but we are looking to of course, we've added the portable solar to the omnibus legislation. And we are continuing to advocate, although we have not been able to pick up a sponsor for the amendment to be creating incentives to be investing for companies to be investing in utility scale solar. Um, so that is where we are with the affordable solar legislation. The land-based wind study did not move out of committee. There were concerns about doing another study in light of a budget crunch, and there was also concerns about uh, putting money towards wind research, given the federal government and Trump has been just so anti-wind and doing what they can to cut permitting processes. The next thing I want to go on to is Transportation and Climate Alignment Act. That legislation is alive, and this is a bill that would be investing significantly more dollars in our clean transit system and requiring that we be offsetting that Maryland Department of Transportation be offsetting greenhouse gas emissions from highway transportation projects that are over $100 million by providing clean transit alternatives to affected residents. This is really the intention of this legislation, as a reminder, is to make sure that um, the our transportation projects and our and planning are in alignment with our climate goals, because we have to be continuing to reduce emissions from our transportation sector. So that is the House version of that bill has made its way all the way to the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee. And they had a closed door hearing. I think it was today that they had the closed door hearing, or yesterday they had a closed door session. And so we have not seen actually any of the amendments that may have been discussed during the meeting, but that's where it is. And so, particularly if you've got a senator on the Senate Budget and Taxation Committee, it is now a really opportune time to contact them and show your support and ask for them to move this. It's not really getting that much public attention, but could be so impactful for our public transit sector in Maryland. Uh, Lastly, the Climate Crimes and Accountability Act legislation. It unfortunately did not move out of committee, and there's and on the House side, there's seemingly a lot of lack of familiarity with legislators on the topic. And on the Senate side, unfortunately, Senator Smith from Tacoma Park uh, didn't uh, uh, didn't hold a hearing on this. And so this to me is another example of we need climate champions, people that are on these committees that are willing to fight. And so unfortunately, we did not find a climate champion for this. So that rounds it out. I know that took longer than expected. Um, but wanted to see Dustin or Lauren or Beth. Are we seeing any questions in the chat?
Yes, we have our first from PA in District 19.
Hey, thank you very much. That was really quite helpful. And my question relates to the Empower program and Mustafa, the
Mm-hmm.
changes that you mentioned to it. What is the rationale for those? What rationale are they using for counting, electric vehicles or the solar as toward the program? What are the people advocating for that? What are they saying? I'm just curious. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the main argument overall for most of these amendments, particularly coming from Democrats and Democratic leadership, has been we have we have got to reduce the monthly Empower bill on Marylanders' bills. We want to drop it from $20 to $15, from $15 to $10. And so, with the EV bill, for example, um, I was told, I was told by our Maryland director just right before this call that they got some intel from members of the committee that that amendment was passed by mistake, that they made a mistake on this issue. So just being transparent about that. So I'm hoping that that's the case, but we got to hold them to it. Um, but from, assuming the intention is to get something like that passed, it's to shrink the Empower program and to say for the next 3 years, we're going to provide relief by cutting the bills by $5 a month to all these Marylanders, thereby shrinking the size of the program. And the motivation is for electoral purposes. But the problem is that it actually is not going to be saving Marylanders money. On on average, there's a return on investment that's greater than the dollar that each Marylander puts in it. I think from the OPC it was something like maybe Lauren or somebody else might remember because we talked about it in the hearing the other day, but something like a dollar 30 or dollar 40 on the return per dollar for everybody. And if you are a beneficiary of any investment from the Empower program, the return on investment is like over $2. It's multiple dollars per dollar that gets spent on it. Um, so um, that, but the rationale is like people are hurting. We need to
They
lower
just
their
want
monthly
to,
costs right
yeah,
now.
they just want to say that they've cut people's, bills on something. I think they're pretty desperate to show that they're doing something with the affordability stuff, and this is the easy target for it. But, I just wonder, it's like, okay, well, why couldn't they do it on an income-based, measure so that,
It's an
yeah,
interesting
it's cut for
question.
some people as opposed to everybody in Potomac or Riderstown or somebody that's like making plenty of money, what difference does it make whether they pay $10 more a month or not, right?
It's an interesting question. Um, yeah, it's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that one, but that's a good point. And other Maryland staff, you can feel free to jump in with answers too.
All right, John.
Oh, I was just, Mustafa, when you say bills don't make it out of committee, you mean there was no vote on these?
That's right. That's right.
All right, y'all. Do we have time for one more question? All right. Well, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we will get back to you. I'll pass it over to Beth.
Thank you, Dustin. Sorry about that. I was trying to find the window here. Um, so the next thing that I have to share with everyone is something called our distributed actions, the things that people have been doing from no matter where they are. Like you can see on the screen, we've got some of our postcard examples, and for those of us who took action with us for that, you might recognize a couple of those. But we had about 75 people during the course of the legislative session who took action in one, and this is still ongoing for what it's worth, so you could add to that number if you can help us out to do that. That took action with a bunch of these different asks. People sent in over over 500 postcards and made over 1,000 calls to supporters, meaning people were asking to contact legislators and also contacting legislators themselves, asking them to take action on a number of these things we've talked about. We have a few upcoming events left before the legislative session ends in 2 weeks. Phone banking on this coming Thursday afternoon, and then next Tuesday evening. And keep in mind, these are not cold calls when we're reaching out to folks. They are CCAN activists like you. So people know about us and are ready to take action, but they just need to hear the latest information and know what the ask is. And same goes for our postcard writing event. That is, we have added one, so that was not originally on the schedule for this coming Monday from 7 to 8 p.m. We gather virtually for that over Zoom. And I have been sending packs of cards to people all over the state so that we can all get together on Zoom and send those to people. So please do take a second if you can. And thank you, Lauren, for popping that link into the chat there to sign up for one of these last items before the 2026 legislative session ends. Because the asks, as you can hear there, as you've heard above, are getting increasingly critical. And so we do need everyone and to have all hands on deck for this. Here in just a second, we're going to do a really important action. Lauren mentioned sending emails to legislators on some of these things, and just make sure to stay on the line because we do have more really important updates. We're going to be talking about our Student Lobby Day in Annapolis, which was really, really amazing, as well as some advocacy that we've been doing around the state when it comes to data centers, and then ways that people can locally take action for our different regions. So with that being said, I'll move into our section that we have here about contacting your legislators. And so you'll see on the screen, if you don't know your legislative district, this is the QR code that you can use to go to the lookup page on the My Maryland General Assembly website, find out which district that you're in. It's not the first district on there. It is the first one is Congress, and so the state level is the next one that's listed there when you look that up. And let us know if we can help you do that. But what we're going to be doing is a few different things. We're going to be writing to your senator, your state senator, to ensure, and all of this is about utility accountability. We want to ensure that the utility accountability measures that we've been mentioning are also included in the Senate bill. Currently, the Senate has language on these provisions, or has different language on these provisions than the House bill. That's one main ask. You heard Mustafa say not long ago also about the Transportation and Climate Alignment Act, and it is still there, and we need to keep taking action for that as well. If you have a senator who sits on the Budget and Taxation Committee, we need you to email them. They need to hear from us. If you don't have a senator that sits on that committee, the other folks that would be equally critical for you to contact are the chair of the Budget and Taxation Committee, which is Chair Gazone, and the vice chair, Senator Rosa Pepe, with your support. So we should at least be investing as much in public transit as we do in highway expansion projects, and we want to make sure that your transit plans are in alignment with our climate goals. And so, thanks again, Lauren, for popping into the chat. We have a fact sheet for the Transportation and Climate Alignment Act, as well as a link to the General Assembly page where you can take a look at those members of the Budget and Taxation Committee. One more thing that is really important for us to do tonight is telling all of your legislators, all of your delegates, and your senator to protect, empower, and demand that they get rid of the poison amendment that the Senate we call it the Triple E Committee, it's the Education, Energy, and Environment Committee, just passed that would count EVs purchased in Maryland toward empower greenhouse gas emissions reduction goals. So that was a mouthful. And Dustin, Mustafa, I see your hand up, and also Dustin, if you could move to the next slide because there's more information on the next slide. Go ahead, Mustafa.
And I just emailed Beth a few minutes ago. I emailed everybody on this call with like a summary of these points that on the Empower Pro on the Utility Relief Act, but the forecast rate making, the and the Empower program in particular, as well as on the TCA, and included two sort of included a fact sheet on the TCA, but just a summary of these things. And so you can use the content from from the email to just sort of organically think about like what are the provisions that sort of stand out to you as important to you, and just write write a few sentences or a paragraph to your legislators and just say, hey, I know this is a provision within the bill or a provision that's being considered. Like, please make sure that this doesn't advance or that we keep this particular provision that's important to you. Um, so feel free to use those, and organic emails can sometimes go a lot much further than a pre sort of prescribed email that we write that you just click send on.
Exactly. Thank you, Mustafa, for sending that out to everyone. So take a look at your email to make sure that you got that message, um, and let us know if we can assist with that. But yeah, we wanted to take a second right now for folks to look over that and to send something to your legislator about these really important issues while we only have a handful of weeks left. And my apologies. Can folks still hear me? Because I think I'm maybe having a technical issue.
We can
No,
hear
here
you.
you are.
Okay.
Yeah,
I hope
we can hear you.
my laptop may be overheating while we're just my laptop's getting angry at this discussion while we're having it, apparently. So did anyone, Mustafa, I don't know if now would be good if anyone had any further questions specifically for this, or um if people didn't get the
Yeah,
email to let us know so that we can make sure that you get it and so on.
yeah, I would say at a minimum, please check and make sure that you got the email right now, and you're welcome to write emails to your legislators right now. And I know in a couple minutes here we will move on to the next set of updates, but happy to stay on. During the Q&A, we can have opportunities at the end to address more questions and set aside time for folks to take 5 to 10 minutes just to write this email to your legislators. But
And we have
I see Cynthia's hand.
Yeah, Cynthia has a question, has a hand up, and then I would ask for someone just put a question in the chat that I don't want to mispronounce your name. Uh, I don't know if you wanted to speak that question or not after Cynthia has hers. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
so quick question. Obviously, we'll do this right now, but I'm assuming that we can go ahead and share these requests with our like our third act team tomorrow and ask them to do all the same thing. Is there like a time limit, like everybody's got to get this stuff done by end of day tomorrow, or a desired time limit?
That's a great question. The Chair Feldman has indicated that he wants to move as quickly as possible.
Okay.
And so I think that, getting the emails on, out this week is a good idea. That's a little bit ambiguous, right? Because it's
Yeah, but I
just,
mean, I think we could just say to get them out tomorrow
yeah.
or Wednesday, I mean Thursday morning at the latest. So, yep.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. And
Okay.
also, as things develop over the next day or two, we will be sending out emails to our entire list with like email to target that you can also use
Okay.
that to share with your networks. But
Perfect.
yeah, with amazing folks like yourself, Cynthia, you can write a little bit of an original email. So
Thank you.
yeah.
And yeah, thank you, Cynthia. The other question, uh, what's the amendment that was an issue that was shared in the chat?
Um, do well. There, there was an amendment that was passed today, which is allows for the purchasing of electric vehicles in Maryland and the resulting anticipated emissions reductions from purchasing an EV to be allotted and counted towards the goals towards the towards the Empower program. And so that would, in effect, reduce the amount, the pot of money, because the pot of money is designed to hit the goal annually. Um, and so there's a specific amount of money that's set aside for the Empower program, and then that's it. Um, so not so that's the issue.
And we have one more thing in the chat, which, and
I think that was the amendment. There are a number of bad amendments from the last week, but that's the one that's the most shocking, and we've been told is a mistake. So hopefully it gets corrected. So
Oops.
yeah.
so
We didn't realize that would be controversial. Oops.
Oops. Yeah, that's right.
I'm
That's right.
still I'm still having a little bit of a technical issue. Some of my screen is not visible, but I know someone popped into the chat about how to, for those of us who aren't following this as closely, how if there are recommended ways for summarizing these for folks.
That's me. It's always, is it too late to try to get people who are inclined towards this? The thing is, the messages we send out
Yeah.
assume that everybody knows about the issues, which are the people in Annapolis and us.
Yes.
Um, Given the time available, I am very happy to summarize it, but is it too late to try to get people around the
No,
state?
no,
Okay.
absolutely. No, the time is now.
All right.
And the look, I mean, the timing is a bit ambiguous. This is a leadership bill, so honestly, they could move it in whatever timeline they want to move it.
Oh, really?
This is the well, and Dustin, you can probably speak more to this than even I can, but because it is a leadership bill, and because this is coming from the president's office, from the speaker's office, the chairs of these committees are sponsoring the bills, the chairs of the relevant committees, that you know they can choose to end the conversation, bring it to a vote in the committee whenever they want to. They could move it from the committee once they do the vote to the floor like within the same day, right? The time, the how quickly they can move this is exceptional given that it's a leadership bill. I mean, they still have to follow the same process, but like, whereas, you know, somebody, not for another bill might wait a week for it to get on the agenda for to move from the committee once it's voted out to the floor. This could happen same day.
So are the chairs involved, the leadership chairs, are
Yeah.
that, is it in the notes and stuff? Because
Yeah.
I'm assuming most people would just send their delegate the information,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming we the activists want to go straight to the chair, right?
So you could definitely, if you have the time to, even if the chairs or the vice chairs are of the the Triple E Committee, or the House Environment and Transportation Committee, even if they're not your legislators, they don't represent your district, you are welcome to email them because given their leadership position on these issues, they need to be responsive to people across the state. Um, so absolutely. And the what from our perspective, even though we don't always see eye to eye, the chairs of both these committees are very litigious. They do tend to respond to people that email them and are careful in how they consider the issues, even if we disagree.
The chairs, the people's names are in. I can find their contacts, but their
Yeah.
names are in the notes in all these the handouts
I
and stuff
can
you sent.
include that in a in the follow-up email that we send tomorrow.
That would be
But
great. Thank you.
for the Senate Environment and the Senate Triple E Committee, it's Chair Feldman who represents District 15 in Montgomery County, the Potomac area, and then also Vice Chair Kagan who represents District 17 in Montgomery County, and the House Environment and Transportation Committee, it's Chair. Uh, Corman, and who also represents the District 16 area. It's also Montgomery County. And Vice Chair, now I'm
Guyton,
blanking on the Vice Chair's name.
Vice Chair
Guyton.
Guyton in District
Guyton,
42B.
Michelle Guyton, right? That's right, from Baltimore,
Rosa,
Baltimore City.
Rosa Pep?
Rosa Pepe is the Vice Chair for the Budget and Taxation Committee. Um, yeah, and then Gazzoni is the chair of that committee. So absolutely, yes, I'm happy to send that information out tomorrow. But I would prioritize if you feel like you've only got 5 or 10 minutes to write an email, and it's tonight or tomorrow, first thing tomorrow morning. I would first and foremost email your legislators. If you've got a senator that's on either of these committees, great. If you've got a senator that's on the Budget and Transportation Committee, email them about the Transportation Climate Alignment Act. Um, so, I would do emails to your legislators first, and then I would do leadership after that. Yeah.
And with all of that being said, we probably should, um, yeah, we still have a decent amount that we need to go on and talk about tonight. Please do send messages out. But I did want to, Mustafa, unless you had anything else to say, to pass it
Nope.
over
Go ahead.
to Lauren to talk about our student lobby day.
Right, yeah. So we're going to move into the next section of this, which is talking about some of our successes during session and move forward to what we've got coming up. So 2 weeks ago, we had a student lobby day where CCAN and the student-led group Illuminate Maryland hosted this lobby day for high school students. We started the morning with a press conference, and you can see these beautiful pictures, and the cherry blossoms are all out. We had student speakers, and they demanded a livable future and urged the General Assembly to pass critical legislation for advancing clean energy. These youth advocates then went to legislator meetings to advocate for the Affordable Solar Act, the Transportation Climate Alignment Act, data center clean capacity, and protecting the Empower program. It was a really great day, and the students got more and more comfortable sharing um, their stories. And at the end of the day, we had a special moment when the students were sitting in the gallery watching the General Assembly, and Delegate David Moon and the Speaker of the House thanked the students for being there. So they got a shout out in the assembly. So I think the students had a really great time, and they showed up and made some great asks to their legislators.
Hmm. Thank you, Lauren. The next thing that we've got here is data center updates. As most of you may know, there's been a proposed 300 megawatt data center over in Dickerson, Maryland, which would generate 1 million tons of carbon dioxide each year, the equivalent of putting 200,000 dirty new cars on the road. The developer, Atmosphere Data Centers, has refused to commit to running the data center on clean power. And so, in the 2005 emissions levels for Montgomery County, which is where Dickerson is, showed that there were 13 million metric tons of CO2. This project would increase the county emissions by 12%, then just skyrocketing it, making it the leading source of emissions in the county and just completely obliterating the county's climate goals. And so some of you may have also seen that there was, so on the 13th, ahead of a WAMU town hall down in downtown Silver Spring, you can see on the picture there dozens of our activists rallied with their t-shirts, no dirty data centers, and yes, 100% clean energy. Across the state, we're demanding that they're powered with 100% clean energy, and they must come online at a pace where they can meet those energy demands with clean energy, and regulators must require data centers to source their own clean energy without compromising local and state climate goals. And so Montgomery County can be an example for every other county in the nation battling the tidal wave of potentially dirty data centers being powered by fossil fuels. And yeah, they can be clean, sustainable when political leaders have the courage and the vision to demand it. The next thing, when it comes to data centers, is that you may have also seen the picture showing a press conference that we had down in Annapolis. Uh, the Moore administration plans to facilitate the construction of a massive new gas plant to power proposed data centers down in Charles County. And so we want to avoid a race to the bottom on data centers and instead support House and Senate leader or legislators trying to craft environmental safeguards, like we've talked about a little bit up above, against data center pollution right now in Annapolis. Recent media reports confirm that the Maryland Department of the Environment has committed to facilitating efforts by the private cryptocurrency company TeraWulf to build a 1 gigawatt gas plant in Charles County to power large data centers along the Potomac River. The plant would require a 20-mile long gas pipeline for the fuel, and once it's operational, to generate over 3 million tons of CO2 per year. That would be a really huge setback for the state's greenhouse gas reduction goals. And so, yeah, we strongly oppose the TerraWolf project. We're going to do everything in our power to stop that project from happening. We do thank Governor Moore for all that he's done, but we have to call on him to stop the expedited permitting process happening with the TerraWolf project. And also, additionally, calling on the legislature to take real action this year to put the incentive for data center developers to actually bring their own energy and clean energy at that. So that is a small capture of all of what you've probably seen happening around the state. I'm going to pass it over to Dustin, who's going to talk more about work that's happening in Frederick County.
All right, y'all. It is good to see you. My name is Dustin. I am the Baltimore Regional Coordinator calling from the beautiful city, greatest city in America, Baltimore. So last December, with many folks out there citing uncertain federal funding and the need for new revenue sources, the Frederick County Council voted to expand the zoning area for data centers by almost 1,000 acres. So in January, members of a grassroots group called Envision Frederick and other community members quickly mobilized to gather the necessary 15,000 petition signatures to put that new zoning map to a public vote. And up in January, I'm sure you all remember it's been 85 degrees today, so it feels like last year. But they braved some of the worst winter storms we have seen in a decade and grew their movement to over 300 volunteers from the Montgomery County and Frederick County line all the way up to Pennsylvania. We contributed $10,000 to create a paid canvassing program to help push them over the finish line. And by the deadline, the data center referendum campaign overshot their goal to gather over 22,000 signatures from all over the county. In times like these, it is really easy to feel discouraged and overwhelmed. But every once in a while, all it takes is just a few brave people getting together to show the rest of us what we can win. After all, the main reason we learned about this campaign and got connected with this group is through one of our volunteers, Elise, out in Frederick, calling our office and leaving us a voicemail. This fight isn't over. It still needs to go to the ballot, but it was a huge demonstration that with all these data center projects, it is not just business as usual. With these data centers popping up everywhere, we have the opportunity to continue that fight to build our collective energy to win. Last week, Baltimore City Council President Zeke Cohen introduced a data center bill to place a one-year moratorium on new data centers in Baltimore. Unlike with Frederick, where you had a lot of Amazon lobbyists and other industry speculators hanging around and keeping an eye on the goings on, a lot of the details about this bill and what it's going to take to pass are still unclear. So it's going to take many of the folks here tonight to be one of those brave people in order for us to win. The first public hearing is scheduled for Thursday, May 7th at Baltimore City Hall. I'm going to drop, thank you, Lauren, the RSVP link in the chat where you can sign up for updates and to hear more specifics as we get closer to the first hearing. And then after the hearing, much like with the General Assembly, they still need to vote it out of committee. And if it progresses, move the bill to second and third reader before it can be signed by Mayor Scott. So go ahead, RSVP today, and join us to send a message that our communities are not for sale. I'll pass it over to Mustafa for our larger discussion.
Yeah, so given the time, I think we can come back to this at our next meeting. But we are going to be very focused in the next between after session's over and through the fall, doing power building and doing lots of outreach and engagement with communities across the state, but particularly in Baltimore, in Frederick, in Montgomery County, and in Prince George's County, and then of course now in Southern Maryland, on on data centers and data centers being just crux along with our Make Polluters Pay effort and other sort of priority issues. But a part of that will be about like talking to people about their stories and their concerns about data centers and what their relationship is like to data centers, how they feel about data centers, and having conversations with them about the imminent or potential impacts that this type of infrastructure will have on their community. In other words, we got to do a lot of listening and a lot of learning, and also educating, agitating, and organizing folks to build power for the long term. So I think we'll come back to this discussion about power building and the data centers sort of statewide and how folks are feeling about that at our next membership meeting in May. But if you are interested in proactively having this conversation and getting involved in doing outreach, particularly around data centers, please reach out to your organizers and get plugged in to the opportunities that we've already got, as Dustin mentioned, in Baltimore and in Frederick and in Montgomery County. Um, so I'll pass it back.
All right, y'all. And thank you, Arlene. I will remove the shifts, but if you can just check one of those boxes, I will make sure to get it when you sign up for the data center hearing. So, how you can get involved. First, join our Baltimore team meeting on April 21st. It's the day before Earth Day. This is our first action team meeting following the legislative session. So we are going to do a nice little wrap up and talk about what is coming up next. For Earth Day, community events like AFRAM happening over the summer. We want to hear from you and start planning for this hearing. Once again, sign up to attend that City Council hearing on May 7th. But if you have any other ideas, if you're already planning on going out to AFRAM or to Artscape or to your local farmers market over the summer, send me an email, dustin@chesapeakeclimate.org. Maybe you'd like to come join me and moonwalk for the climate outside the Senator Theater. There's a very important movie premiere coming up. Send me an email so we can connect and learn more about what is going on. I'll pass it over to you, Beth.
Thank you, Dustin. So two regions where I've been working that people can get involved, Montgomery County as well as Prince George's County. What's happening coming up for Montgomery County? We're going to be having our next action team meeting on April 19th in Silver Spring, downtown Silver Spring at the library. We're going to have a combination, post-session meet and greet and team meeting, but also we're going to be canvassing in downtown Silver Spring for our Make Polluters Pay and No Dirty Data Centers campaigns. A few other events that we have coming up that people can get involved with, and these are save the dates for now. We're doing Earth Day in Tacoma Park on the 12th of April, Rockville Pride on June 7th, Pride in the Plaza, which is in Silver Spring, on the 28th. And just like Dustin said, if you have something that you think that we should be there for, please let me know. When it comes to Prince George's, we're going to be doing the same. We have an interest meeting on Sunday, the 26th in Hyattsville at the PG Plaza Community Center. And so we're going to have a combination, getting interest session there as well as canvassing in the residential area around the community center there in Hyattsville. Also on the 18th, we'll be at the Bowie Green Expo and in Laurel on the 20th for their Juneteenth celebration. So that's a capture of a few things that are happening in the next couple of months for Montgomery and Prince George's. I'll pass it over to Lauren to talk about Anne Arundel County.
Great, thanks, Beth. So some of you may know this is the first year that we've had an Anne Arundel County organizer. So this summer I'm working to build our presence in this county. And if you'd like to learn more about our plans to work in Anne Arundel County or want to know how you can get involved, you can meet with me for a one-on-one. And put the link in the chat. There we go. Um, and I also have put some upcoming events down below. For Earth Month, we'll be doing two events in Anne Arundel County. On April 22nd, there's an Annapolis City Council event. And on April 25th, there's the Severna Park Earth Day Fest. So I'll be attending these events with an informational table about CCAN's work. And I'd love it if you would stop by or help out manning a table. And once again, if you have any other events that you think um, we should be attending in Anne Arundel County, please feel free to let me know. All right, I'll hand it back to Mustafa to wrap up.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I know we're at the top of the hour. I am happy to stay on for another 10 minutes or so. If folks have questions, particularly about contacting their legislators. If you want to go ahead and do that this evening, I'm happy to stay on and help with that. Um, but the three things, just email your legislators this week. Um, Sign up to volunteer. And if you, with any of the opportunities that were just listed, and if you have any questions about those, reach out to the organizers. If you're not sure what you want to be volunteering for, please reach out to the organizers and just schedule a time to chat with them and or meet with them in person. Those are what I would say are the next steps here. Happy to stay on if folks have questions or would like some help writing their emails.
Thanks for doing this. Very
Abs-
helpful.
Absolutely. No, thank all of you. Your letter honestly on the terrible data center provisions that allowing data centers to uh, run on fossil fuels that they bring on site and without permits like that Senate Bill 26. You all were on it. We had such an incredible response rate from our emails and like our texting, and that I know was a deciding factor for leadership to drop considering that. So, you all are what make this work.
Yeah, I mean, the other
Uh,
thing about the data centers is, they create construction jobs, but after that, they don't employ many people, right? It's just a bunch of servers and somebody to make sure that they stay on.
Right. That they make sure that they just stay on and that they're running, they're cool, they're cool enough to keep running. Um, yeah.
And you can probably
Yeah.
have AI do that in another year.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. If this seems like a really data centers seem like a really great example of the very wealthy making trickle down economics work, you know. So, but they're replacing the jobs. Okay. Would folks like any help with sending the emails? Are there questions I could help answer?
I just want to clarify, Mustafa, I'm writing to Kathy Forbes, 43B legislator, and she doesn't seem to be on any of the key committees, if I'm correct, about utility relief. So I'm basically just saying, please support it, keep these key things that were in your email, and don't whittle away Empower any further. Is that
That's
basically?
exactly right. That's exactly
Okay.
right. And you could also, if you have the time, you could say something similar in your email to, particularly right now, Chair Feldman, and Vice Chair Kagan in the Senate Triple E Committee. That's where the negotiations are happening right now. So if
Okay.
you would like to send an email to them as well, I invite you to do that.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Absolutely. Any other questions that folks have?
Mustafa, you said tomorrow you were going to send out the names of the committee members. I know you said it on
Yes.
the call. I just didn't write it down. So
Yeah, absolutely. I can send out their names and their emails. So
thanks.
you can use that to email them as well. Yeah, should have thought of having that handy right now. But I'll send it out tomorrow in the morning. Any other questions?
I just have a thank you. Thank you so much
Oh,
for your
yeah, of
time.
course. Of
Appreciate it.
course. I feel like this sort of silly amendment about the electric vehicles is a perfect encapsulation of like if if we had another climate champion on the committee that was carefully reviewing everything that was coming before them and actually reading the amendments and understanding the consequences, that we would have caught this. And so uh, this puts a premium on us, for making sure that we do outreach to our communities and that we are even more intentional in our in-district meetings before session starts, um, to continue building those relationships and trying to elevate more of our legislators, um, particularly the ones that are on those committees. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you all so much. Really, really appreciate it. And well, I won't apologize, but we are going to be inundating you all with communication over the next week. So you will see emails from us, text from us, and just know that it's all these provisions are moving so quickly, and it's possible that another amendment is just going to come up, and it's, just as much as we are working, the opposition is working. So, yeah. All right. Thank you all so much.
Thank you all.
Good night. Have a good night.